Should I do this in like a clocky impression? Welcome to Penacony, the planet of festivities. Here in the Revelry, we pride ourselves on our fantastic customer service and top-notch security. How can our guests possibly enjoy themselves without the comfortability our staff provides them throughout their stay? Take, for instance, Gallagher, our famed drinksmith and security officer from the Bloodhound Family. It's due to him and the people like him that everyone can enjoy their stay with complete trust in the family. Okay, let's cut the lies. Gallagher's not just some security officer. As revealed in the Penacony story, Gallagher is actually a history fictionologist, a pastoral of enigmata, and just the most attractive man. Gallagher's got somewhat of a convoluted history, one that players often get confused on. This video is going to go over the most common questions people have about Gallagher, his backstory, abilities, etc. Hopefully by the end of it, you'll know everything you need to know about who he is, and you can then mention him in every single conversation you have, just like I do. Hello, I am Raven.Familiar, and this is my first time making a video like this, so if you like it or have any feedback, please let me know in the comments. Okay, so who is Gallagher? Or more accurately, what is Gallagher? All we know definitively is that he is a virtual character, one created by another history fictionologist. Sadly, what that term actually means, we have no real explanation of. You'll hear a lot of people assert that he is a mimetic entity, but this isn't actually confirmed. The only known facts about Gallagher is that he's a construct based on 52 family members, known examples including Benny's hair, Sir Whitaker's eyes, and Wolsey's scar. I do not believe the explanation that he is just a construct made by another person completely fits what we know of Gallagher for a few main reasons. The most notable being mentions of Gallagher dating all the way back to 10 Amber eras ago. He is a old guy. I think there is a somewhat complex but reasonable explanation for all of this. Gallagher isn't a separate person from his creator, Gallagher is just an adopted identity. There's numerous points in the game that support this, such as Gallagher's fourth character story. Each of Gallagher's character stories are notes Gallagher took on what traits to take from family members, but his fourth story is a note about Gallagher himself. The quote that stands out to me is at the very end. Gallagher is my most truthful lie. Sometimes I can't even distinguish between him and myself. To me, this reads as if the history fictionologist is somewhat a part of Gallagher, thus he's able to get confused about where Gallagher ends and he begins. This also explains why mentions of Gallagher can be so old and why Gallagher has such a deep connection to Penacony, especially with the Watchmaker. He was actually there to experience all of it. Alternatively, Gallagher might just be a creation based on 52 family members with the facts about his creator mixed in. But this still raises the question of why so many mentions of Gallagher date so far back. If Gallagher was a separate person, then surely all of those mentions would be cited towards the original person, not Gallagher. What Gallagher is going to have some relevance later on, so let's put a pin in this for now and return to it later, and let's quickly just go over all the mentions of Gallagher throughout Penacony's history. We currently have no information on Gallagher's life before the events of Penacony's Revolution, the War of Independence. This is when he joined Mikhail the Watchmaker as well as other factions to liberate the IPC colony. Now, due to family propaganda, most of the information around this time comes from the form of clocky cartoons, in which Gallagher is likely the character of Scammer Cup. Scammer Cup is said to have assisted Clocky in creating false advertising, as well as tampering the history of Dreamville, but to a version people end up preferring. I'm going to largely skip over the rest of Penacony's history because it's far too out of the scope of this video, but to quickly summarise. Mikhail ends up leaving Penacony briefly, and civil war broke out, leaving Gopher Wood to take control. During this, he used the Stellaron, which started to feed off people's emotions. When Mikhail got back, he tried to rise up against the family, and to help him, Gallagher established Dreamflux Reef. In clocky cartoons, this place is referred to as Roseville, and it became a safe haven for those against the family. Gallagher also turned Orla, better known as Dr. Blues, into a mythic entity once his body grew old, and Dr. Blues was assigned to build Dreamflux Reef. The last thing we know Gallagher did was create something unto death, also known as Dormancy and Sleepy, which is worth going into a lot more detail for. Something unto death, which I'll just call Sleepy from now on, is a mimetic entity created through the power of enigmata. It serves as transport between Dreamflux Reef and the Dreamscapes. It's unclear when exactly Gallagher made it, but he started commanding it to take out seemingly random citizens during the main story, which we'll touch on soon. What I love about Sleepy is that following the reveal of its true nature, they start treating it like it's a dog, as if the creature doesn't still strike the fear of God into anyone who dares cross its path. Why does it have so many eyes? Stay back! We'll return to the history of Sleepy soon. Now, in regards to the main story, there's not actually a whole lot to cover. Long before the main story Penacony, Gallagher noticed Mikhail was up to something and confronted him. Mikhail shared with Gallagher his plans to host a festival and tasked Gallagher with sending invitations to numerous factions, all promising them the Watchmaker's legacy. The family couldn't simply turn away these factions because it would massively harm their reputation. Gallagher then assumed the role of a Bloodhound Family officer and, using something unto death, helped create a struggle between the factions. Gallagher had two end goals. One was gathering forces who could fight the family and bringing them together inside Dreamflux Reef, and the second was causing a fight between the factions in the hopes it would bring out a traitor in the family. One additional thing to note, it's actually suggested that Sparkle may have sent her own invitations, although this could just be a red herring by the devs. Over the course of the story, he eventually gathers the forces of Robin, Sunday, Firefly, as well as the Astro Express crew, and he tells them the truth about Penacony, the Stellaron, and his own intentions. The group decides to band together to confront Gopher Wood and the rest of the family. It's not important to the context of this video what happens, so I'm just going to skip it. When Himiko asks if he'll be joining them, he declines, saying that as a virtual character, he's completed his mission, and it's here we can return to the topic of what Gallagher is. It is also here where I start crying. According to Gallagher's own words, when a virtual character's truth is revealed, they cease to exist. And because he's just revealed all the secrets, Gallagher only has a few more moments to live. I said before that I believe Gallagher to be a false identity, and that might make you believe that Gallagher's still alive. Sadly, no. We have further confirmation of his death from his third loading screen, which says the loyal Hound of the Watchmaker, a character concocted by a certain history fictionologist based on the various facts in Penacony. Carrying on the legacy of the Watchmaker, he craftily opposed the family until his last breath. This could mean that Gallagher lives on through the actual history fictionologist, but I personally really doubt it. This man has spent so long tied to the story of Penacony, I don't think there's anywhere else he'd want to be. The last we see of Gallagher is him toasting the success of his plan with the Watchmaker's corpse, admitting that he'll cease to exist soon. He still had enough time to leave a note on the Astro Express and give the Nameless a gift, one of Misha's drawings. Following Gallagher's death, Something Unto Death managed to make its way to Solgalad Scorched Sand audition venue, where the Trailblazer encounters it during the adventure mission Scorched Sand Vacation. The last we heard of it, Siobhan had taken it in, which is nice. That pretty much covers Gallagher's story. The last thing that's worth addressing is the line, "I'm 13, which he said to March. In a Famitsu interview, which has sadly been lost on the internet, the devs went on record to say, "Do not believe the words of history fictionologists." Basically, he's joking, and we can clearly see from his lore that the number 13 has no connection to him. It's commonly believed that 13 might be a reference to tarot cards, with 13 being the number for death, hinting his connection to Something Unto Death. But that's all we've got. And thus concludes this video. There's obviously a lot of unanswered questions about Gallagher. What is a virtual character? Who was he before Penacony? We know he's a partial of Ignomata, but where does his greater martial of Ignomata come from? As of uploading this video, 3.8 is on the horizon, which contains a return to Penacony, so it's possible we might get some answers then, and hopefully this whole video isn't completely derailed, but when that happens I'll attach a comment about any major changes. If you enjoyed this video, do let me know, and I'll see what I can improve on for next time. Until then, remember to never stop talking about Gallagher. I've taught you all I know. Thank you for watching.